Welcome back to another episode of the Alligator Live Truck Builds. We've done a handful of videos showing off our 2018 Dodge Ram with a 6.7 liter Cummins in it, along with the parts that we're going to install live at the UCC DPI Expo show in May. Well, today I'd like to introduce truck number 2, a 2018 Ford F-150 with a 3.0 liter Powerstroke, dubbed Project Brimstone. Our plans for this truck have evolved over the course of the past few months. And instead of doing something, just lift kit, wheels, tires, and kind of a standard build, we want to do something a little bit unique. So what we're going to do is take this 3.0 Powerstroke and change it into a pre-runner style chaser truck themed build. But before I actually get into the parts that we're going to install on this truck live at UCC, let's go ahead and check out this platform. The 2018 Ford F-150 Lariat 3.0 Powerstroke, of course. With the sport package on it, so everything's color matched. It has the aluminum body, pretty much like all the Ford F-150s or Super Duties for that matter, that Ford has adopted over the course of the past few years. This is a bone stock setup for the time being. The only thing that we've actually done is tinted the windows and put some clear bra on the front to prevent chipping there. Has power steps. The exhaust on it is still stock for the time being. You'll notice that there's sensors and cameras pretty much all over this. There's a front camera, a rear camera, front sensors for parking and how close you are. There's some actually in the sides there by the front fenders. Ford integrates a few of the functional features like the tailgate assist, the step in the bar to get into the back of the truck. Seems to be pretty standard with all the Ford trucks nowadays. Tow package. This has this is the Super Crew cab along with a 6.5 foot bed. Interior wise, it's pretty fully loaded. The interior is pretty clean, pretty nice. Pretty much all leather interior, push button start. Has a really nice gauge display. Has the center console setup's really nice. Has the shifter down there versus being on the column. Heated and cooled seats. All the bells and whistles. Lights everywhere. Everything has buttons, move mirrors to, jump into different two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, radio, climate controls, all that stuff. Just like any of these new trucks nowadays, they're all pretty well versed in making the captain's life a lot easier. So this little 3.0 is kind of an interesting looking setup. It is a V6. 250 horsepower, 440 foot-pound of torque little motor. Their injection system runs a lot like the newer common rails do. It's a high pressure 29,000 PSI setup. It's kind of some funky little stuff. I'm not quite sure why they have the intake crossing over the entire motor like that. They have the box on the driver's side, and they have this crossover pipe that comes all the way down to the turbo that's tucked down on the passenger side here. You can't see it from the top view, but if you look in the fender, you can see a little bit of the VGT turbo there. On the driver's side down here, kind of tucked in the valley on the side, is the EGR cooler. And that's kind of what you're allowed to see. There's a lot of plastic on this motor. Seems like everything nowadays has a lot of plastic on it, but seems to be doing pretty well. It's been out for a year now. This is Ford's first platform they ever threw a 3.0 Powerstroke in it, so pretty exciting to kind of see what type of innovating things they're doing for diesel technology. Same with a lot of the new diesels, 07 and up. This does have its fair share of emission systems on it. Like I said, on the driver's side there is the EGR cooler, and then just on the back side of this turbo, this VGT turbo, has the catalytic converter and the DPF filter. So let's go ahead and raise this truck up in the air and check underneath the rig and see what's changed compared to the 6.7 Powerstroke or any of the newer, larger diesel trucks as it is. Definitely some interesting things that I'm not really used to in the full-size diesel pickup game. Still, it's kind of the standard thing. We have the catalytic converter, the DPF filter. You can see it right here. Almost looks like a bellow. I'm not sure if that's considered a filter or if that's just an expansion joint of some type. And then further back in the exhaust, you know, beyond the DPF filter, you always have your sensors in here. And then you got this, it almost looks like a filter at first, and you kind of feel it, and you can tell it's just like a rubber block there. I'm assuming that's just kind of dampened down the sound of the actual exhaust rattle. And then of course further back we have the muffler. The exhaust, it goes from 3.5 inch, hits the muffler, and then as it goes to the over axle and tailpipe, it drops down to 3 inch, and then has that 4 inch stainless steel pipe, the tip that comes out of the back there. You can definitely tell it's a lighter duty pickup because it only has a couple leaf springs versus the packs that we're used to on the 3/4 and 1 ton, which are I think a 5 or 6 leaf spring pack. So the fuel tank here, I believe this is a 26 gallon tank. Moving back up to the front, this F-150 3.0 uses a 10-speed transmission that seems to be pretty cool. Don't know a whole lot about them yet. Not quite sure what they're holding up for power, or how much it takes to actually build one to hold higher horsepower for those beefier applications. But the 10-speed seems to be pretty cool. Has a handful of different modes in it. Does the snow and wet mode, has the couple of eco modes, and then some different sport modes. You know, seem to be pretty trick. And then of course, it being the F-150 and not the 250 or 350, it is an IFS front suspension, so that makes the ride a little more luxurious, kind of like the GM trucks do. So now that you've seen this F-150 in full, you can kind of understand what we're starting with our canvas. And as we start to evolve this into that pre-runner chaser truck theme, we'll start with a few things like front and rear bumpers from Addicted Desert Design. We'll do a front grille from Royalty Core. We'll do probably that 4-inch lift kit with 37s because we're thinking we're going to go ahead and change the fenders on this. Instead of keeping the factory F-150 fenders, we're looking at doing some Raptor style fenders. Give it a little bit more wheel well, pops out a little bit more so we can stance the truck without having the tires stick out too far past the fenders and be always slinging mud and rocks down basically this black bodied truck, which shows up a lot more than say a white pickup does. We'll do an intake, a tuner, exhaust system. With that exhaust system, it's going to be DPF back. We're keeping both these trucks, the Operation Snowflake, that 6.7 Cummins, and this 3.0 Powerstroke are going to be emission compliant builds. So the horsepower is going to be reliable. We're going to, keep everything right there where we need to be. One of the cool things with this build that is happening with that Cummins as well is that we're going to have one of our local wrap companies, CW Wraps, out of Post Falls, Idaho. They're going to fly over to the East Coast with us, and they're going to wrap both these trucks on site. So one of these days, they'll be wrapping this 3.0 Powerstroke with a full-on themed wrap, and then they'll be doing the same thing with Operation Snowflake. So we're pretty stoked about that. It's going to really tie both these builds together. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of a build list that we have just started on this F-150. So continuing along with us as we start bringing new parts to the table. We'll do some video releases to kind of show you what's going on, and we'll do this all the way leading up to the UCC build live in May, and we'll have some live coverage there. We'll have some podcast companies there. We'll do some live videos that we'll be doing on social media, Facebook, Instagram. So please follow along with us, and we'll see you next time.